In this season, our third season, we'll be looking at one of China's very recent feats of engineering expertise, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. The story focuses on how the chief engineer saw his project not simply in terms of a construction challenge, but also saw its aesthetics and its spirit harking back to some of the great bridge-building feats of distant ancestors. Now, talking of ancient feats of engineering, we also have a story about the Great Wall and its construction at its far western end at Jiayuguan. Workers were faced with the challenge of moving massive blocks of stone from a quarry to the building site. Listen on to hear how they overcame the challenge. We have stories about the power of music during wartime, the 19-year bitter exile of a Han Dynasty official, and a traditional story about the virtues of self-control. All of that, and also a story about the Dragon Boat Festival. So join us, expand your vocabulary, rediscover inspiring Chinese stories, and learn how to share them with foreign friends and with the whole world. 在第三季中，我们有现代工程领域的伟大成就钢铸澳大桥的故事。这个故事讲述了总工程师不仅将他的项目看成一个建筑挑战，还通过回顾古代伟大建筑成就，将工程上升到审美和精神层面的高度。而谈到古代建筑成就，我们还有一个发生在长城最西端嘉峪关的故事。在长城建设时期，工人们面临一个巨大的挑战，那就是如何将巨大的石块从采石场运到施工现场。通过这个故事，我们可以学习到他们是如何克服这个困难。除此之外，我们还有战争时期用音乐鼓舞人民的故事，还有关于汉代官员19年艰苦流放经历的故事，还有关于自律美德的故事，还有关于传统节日，就是端午节的故事。还在等什么？赶紧把词汇量扩充起来，把中国故事的知识储备丰富起来，然后向全世界讲述这些精彩的中国故事吧。那么讲中国故事就不得不提长城。我现在在北京说这句话，那么这个就是长城一段所在的城市。但是我们今天的故事来自于长城的另一段，甘肃嘉峪关，所以这个故事从某种程度上也可以体现长城令人难以置信的规模，以及建造它所花的时间。当然，这个故事也强调了长城的工程量多么令人难以置信。即使在我们现在这个时代，在把握发达的机械和技术之后，运输这些巨大石块也依然是一个大工程。换句话说，在古代，这个简直超乎想象的，在丙道上运送石条的故事是介于神话和历史的。也就是说，对于这个故事，石匠把茶倒到地板上，然后相处通过丙道运送石条，我们也没有可靠的历史依据。然而，那个地区的建筑工人利用寒冷的冬天在冰岛搬运大块石头的想法是很有道理的。所以，这个故事绝对值得在很多层面去讲述。它清楚地反映了长城工程的规模，包括地理范围和时间跨度，同时也让我们了解到长城是如何将人类的耐力、力量、创造力和意志力发挥到极致的。好，那我们现在把这个故事的英文版本开始朗诵。The Great Wall was built in ancient times in northern China as a defensive bulwark against invaders from the north. Its construction fused the wisdom with the sweat and blood of generations of Chinese workers in those far-off times. There were 9 passes in the construction of the 10,000-mile Great Wall, as it is called, which entailed either spanning deep gorges or traversing lofty mountain ranges in order to ensure complete defence works. Masons were sent to Gansu province for the construction of Jiayu Pass fortress at the western end of the wall, the final pass, which needed over 1 million blocks of stone, large and small. After a wide-ranging search of the area, the masons finally decided to get their stone material from nearby Black Mountain. However, they soon found that the chiselled-out stone blocks were too heavy for either men to lift or carts to move. In fact, the mountain was so steep and the track so difficult that there was no way to transport the stone blocks. Before long, the dead of winter arrived, and still not a single stone block had been moved. Looking southeast from Black Mountain, it could be seen that not far away, the site of Jiayu Pass was still a flat expanse of yellow sand. One of the masons suggested, as the blocks are so heavy, wouldn't it be better to cut them into smaller pieces so that we could transport them? But an old mason reminded him that wouldn't work, because the blocks are already in standard sizes and Jiayu Pass has to match the 8 other passes. We must think of another way, another solution to the problem. Worried about the delay in the work, they gathered every day to discuss this matter, but remained at a loss as to how to move the stone blocks. Every day it got colder and colder. Then one day, a mason poured the remaining liquid in his teacup onto the path. He noticed that the liquid quickly froze. Carefully treading on the ice, he nearly lost his balance and slid down the mountain. This misstep gave him an idea, and he explained to his colleagues how they could solve the problem. First, we should construct a road from the mountain to the Jiayu Pass site. Then, we should sprinkle water on it to make an ice road and slide the blocks down it. What do you think? The old mason was highly excited by this idea. Excellent, he exclaimed. That way, not only can we save energy, but also prevent damage to the blocks. A very good idea. Now that we have a plan, let's divide up the work. While some make the road, others can take care of the transporting of the blocks. Both jobs can be done at the same time. They lost no time in getting to work. Night and day they toiled, making the road snaking from the mountain to Jiayu Pass and sprinkling it with water. The water froze overnight, and the next day an ice road stretched all the way from Black Mountain to Jiayu Pass. Along this ice road, the stone material was transported block by block from the mountain. The masons had pooled their wisdom to overcome the problem of constructing Jiayu Pass Fort. With their diligent construction efforts, the masons finally put a splendid full stop in the northwestern desert to the 10,000-mile Great Wall. It was the pooling of the masons' hard work and wisdom that resulted in the boldness and grandeur of the 10,000-mile Great Wall. In fact, the 10,000-mile Great Wall is a crystallization of the wisdom of the Chinese people and a portrait of the diligence of the Chinese race. The building of the Great Wall originated in the military threat from the north. It was a defensive measure. It is thus a symbol of the Chinese people's being prepared for danger in times of peace. The Great Wall is a monument in the history of ancient Chinese engineering. The moral of this story. The 10,000-mile Great Wall is a grand work of construction with no parallel in the ancient world. It is a fusion of the blood and sweat of millions of working people. In this defensive structure, we can see the diligence and initiative of the Chinese people. 好的，我刚才从头到底把这个故事的英文版读给你们听。那么现在我们来练一练一些诵读的技巧。我们先注意到这个段落。Every day it got colder and colder. Then one day a mason poured the remaining liquid in his teacup onto the path. He noticed that the liquid quickly froze. Carefully treading on the ice, he nearly lost his balance and slid down the mountain. This misstep gave him an idea, and he explained to his colleagues how they could solve the problem. So, in the first paragraph of this passage, we need first to convey the bitter and harsh atmosphere, especially when we emphasize the words colder and colder. Let's listen. 那么在这一篇文章的这一段，我们首先要传达的是一个艰苦恶劣的气氛，尤其是当我们强调 colder and colder 这个词组的时候，我们要特别反映这种感觉。来听一听 colder and colder. Let's also take a look at this sentence where the main action occurs. 接下来我们来看看主要动作或者行动发生的那句话。Carefully treading on the ice, he nearly lost his balance and slid down the mountain. Notice how in the middle of this sentence I paused for longer than usual at the comma after ice. I did this because I wanted to draw attention to the fact that something important is about to occur, and secondly, to keep the audience in suspense about what that might be. 请注意，在这句话中间，我在 ice 后面的逗号停顿的时间比较长一些。那么这样做是因为我想首先让观众注意到一些重要的事情即将发生，其次让观众对可能发生的事情保持悬念。The pause also marks a very clear change of pace. Before the pause, the pace was slower, and then immediately after, the pace speeds up to reflect the very rapid action of slipping and falling. 那么这种停顿也标志着一种非常明显的节奏的变化。在停顿之前，我的那个步伐比较慢，然后紧跟着步伐加快，以反映非常迅速下滑和下降的动作。In a similar way, I paused after the word misstep. 就是同样，我在单词 misstep 后面也停顿了一下。This misstep gave him an idea. Again, the purpose is to signal an important moment in the text as well as building up audience suspense. 再次说明一下，这样做的目的是为了暗示文本中的一个重要的时刻，也为观众创造或者制造一种悬念。好，let's listen now to the whole passage again. 我们现在来听一听整个段落。Every day it got colder and colder. Then one day, a mason poured the remaining liquid in his teacup onto the path. He noticed that the liquid quickly froze. Carefully treading on the ice, he nearly lost his balance and slid down the mountain. This misstep gave him an idea, and he explained to his colleagues how they could solve the problem. 好的，今天的课就讲到这里了。Bye for now.